friends, benders and non-benders alike. Welcome to Braving the Elements, Nickelodeon's podcast about all things Avatarverse. I'm Janet Varney.
And I'm Dante Basco, and we're about to dive into a couple of pretty incredible episodes of Avatar, Varney. Hope you brought your Eclipse glasses.
Oh, my friend, not only did I bring my Eclipse glasses, which I absolutely will not need, but I also brought a perfect person to cover these seminal episodes of the mid-season of Book 3, buddy. And of course, I am talking about someone who loves the Avatarverse just as much as we do.
Yes, someone whose own knowledge of the Avatarverse makes me very proud to know him. Someone we love hanging out with on the show time and time again.
That's right, Cabbage Heads. We are talking about the friend we affectionately call the Profector, because he's basically already a professor of the Avatarverse, and his first name is Hector. So that's what the cleverness is there. Everybody, it's our friend Hector Navarro. Hello, Hector.
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. It is an honor to hang out with you both. And yeah, these episodes are all-timers, so I can't wait to get into them.
All-timers.
They are indeed. Hector, help us out. What's going on? I mean, there's a lot going on in the series so far. Absolutely.
And it just keeps getting more and more and more, a lot going on as each episode goes on.
Yes.
But before we join Team Avatar for a daring invasion of the Fire Nation Palace, let's remind everyone quickly what's happening in the timeline leading up to this. Our last Avatar, The Last Airbender episode was, of course, Nightmares and Daydreams, when we start the countdown to the eclipse at 4 days out and watch Aang unravel more and more as the clock ticks down. Along the way, the rest of Team Avatar tells him not to be so anxious, which, is just great for a person with anxiety. That's the best.
We love being told that.
We love being told
that.
Calms
them down immediately.
And speaking of anxiety, Zuko worries about not being invited to a war planning meeting, while May tells him not to be so stressed. Again, super helpful. And in fact, it does turn out that Zuko is now considered a valued member of his father's team. So why doesn't he seem happy about it? I mean, aside from the fact that he's Zuko, what's going on?
He's in an existential crisis, but I don't know if we know how deep
himself.
it is.
He doesn't feel like himself,
episodes,
you guys.
Right, you guys? Who is
That's right.
himself? That's not a sentence that should ever be said, but who is himself?
Who is himself?
I'm doubling down.
I do love the ending of that episode. It's planting those seeds, leading to some of the best stuff about the entire universe of Avatar, which is the Zuko storyline. It's so good. I love that he's unhappy that he's part of the valued team of his father's inner circle. I love that. We need that, and it's gonna pay off.
Yes.
Be careful what you
we
wish
have to
for.
see him
Be careful
get
what
he
you
wants.
wish for.
Exactly. So well said, my friend. Yeah, you have to see him get everything so we can see what he decides to do with everything. It's a bit of a book 1, 2, and 3 reunion when Chief Hakoda joins Team Avatar for the invasion, bringing some familiar faces with him for the fight, just in time for the planned invasion on the day of the solar eclipse. Now, things seem to be going pretty well as the ragtag group gains ground on the Palace City, but there's more than one surprise hidden in this episode, and including, of course, a big one when Aang reaches Ozai's throne. But that's not going to get ahead of ourselves. This episode was written by one of our two dads, Mike DiMartino, and directed by our dear friend, Giancarlo Volpe. And of course, it's a two-parter. As I said before, we are going to have the Profector with us for 2 episodes so we can go through this adventure together.
So we open this episode alongside Team Avatar at the rendezvous spot we know from Nightmares and Daydreams as Sokka carefully reviews their atlases, surveying the plan. Does everyone remember when Toph gave Sokka the money to buy these atlases back in the Runaway? I love how it all connects there. Aang seems like he's it's all paying off. Aang seems like he's feeling pretty zippy, which is a nice change from how he was feeling in the last episode. And then when Toph brings up the Avatar state, Aang has to explain that Azula locked his 7th chakra, cutting off his connection to all this cosmic energy in the universe, which seems like a really big deal, right? It's the first time the gang has heard about this.
I mean, is it? That's what I'm trying to remember.
When Azula shot me with lightning, my 7th chakra was locked, cutting off my connection to all the cosmic energy in the universe.
You know what I just heard? Blah, blah, spiritual mumbo jumbo, blah, blah, something about space.
He was pretty good with it. When I heard it, I was like, damn, he really understood. I thought he didn't pay attention enough to the guru, and he left. But he actually picked up a lot.
You were like, okay, and you passed the test. Okay,
I was like,
I just
he
can't
knew
remember
more.
if that conversation has happened before. Like, has the
We don't know.
conversation of him saying, yeah, because it seems like everybody kind of takes it in stride, but it's like a really big
Right.
deal.
It's a really big deal.
I'm not sure.
And he really knew the scientific, spiritual concept behind what was going
right.
on. He was paying attention to Guru, even though he left his classes early. Hey, he knows what's
That's
going
right.
on. Whatever the case, Toph doesn't seem too concerned. Just then, Hakoda and his fleet of water tribe ships arrive, cloaked in fog, and they brought some special folks along that Sokka asked them to find. We've got the Swamp Benders, a fun callback to one of Arnie's favorite lines. Where's Haru? Do they got Haru and Tyro? And we all remember from Book One's imprisoned episode, except now Haru's got some fancy facial hair, which I was like, oh yeah, he got a goatee going on. It's growing up. And we've got the hippo and the boulder ready to fight for their kingdom from the blind bandit. And the mechanist came out, who just blew some stuff up on the ship while making peanut sauce with his son Teo, who presents Aang with a new glider. And by the way, the new glider has a snack compartment built in it, which Aang does. He does not give a lot of love to at that time, but it's genius. It's great to see all these guys back.
Yeah.
I mean, earlier with Laura, she was talking about how
know.
she loved the beginning of like Act 1 of a thing because she likes to build the worlds. But I kind of
Lauren
like
Montgomery. Yeah.
Yeah, Laura Montgomery. She talked in an earlier episode about the early seasons, like building the world. But I love, like, as third act of this whole story, where you kind of get these characters that we all kind of were met earlier, all together to do this thing. I really love that feeling, like, oh, like
Yes.
everyone, it's like it all building up to this and it's like seeing old friends.
And you know who it's been a real long time since we last saw? Uncle Iroh. And we're finally getting to check in on him at the prison. He's being taunted by Warden Poon, who apparently has nothing better to do than to just sit outside Iroh's cell, filing his nails and being rude. A guard named Ming comes in with Iroh's food, and it's clear from the start that she's sympathetic to Iroh and is showing him kindness. And if Ming's voice sounds familiar, it's because she's played by none other than tennis superstar Serena Williams.
The GOAT.
Serena.
The
Come
GOAT.
on.
The GOAT.
Huge fan
Greatest
of the
all time.
Avatarverse. Huge fan of the Avatarverse. Inspired by it. Loved it.
It's
Ended up doing the
crazy.
show. How about that?
Love
So
it.
wild.
Love it. Listen, Serena, I'm a pretty big fan of her tennis, but I'm an even bigger fan of how she's a for real legit nerd. She loves her fandoms. She loves that stuff.
Agreed.
So,
It's amazing.
so happy to hear her.
And she's a
in
member
this.
of the Fire Nation.
Now that
she's
we're
a member
back-
of Fire Nation.
Claim it, Dante. Claim it. That's
I'm
fine. That's
claiming
fine.
it.
You got
I'm
the
claiming
GOAT,
it.
Serena.
Fire Nation,
That's
Serena.
great.
Never forget.
Okay.
Never forget.
Never forget. So then now we're back with the Water Tribe soldiers and allies. A very nervous Sokka addresses the crowd to go over the plan. Well, more than just the plan, since he starts to tell the entire story of the series until Hakoda takes over. We learn how the team plans to take advantage of the 8-minute eclipse to deal with the guards at the palace so that Aang can defeat the Fire Lord. Sounds like a great plan. Then we see everybody suit up for battle, which includes Appa in the armor that Sokka made for him. It is awesome. And then Aang shaves his head, joined by a koala sheep buddy for support.
I mean, who knew those koala sheep were just going to be such a huge part of the last couple of episodes? It's what helps Aang go to sleep. We got some little cuties just hanging out, giving a little for support. You know I'm on board for anything in the hybrid animal world. So inside the palace, we see Zuko take down his top knot. He removes his royal attire and he begins to write something. But what? But we don't know, because this is one of those little Avatar tricks where we immediately head back to Sokka, who is telling Aang how disappointed he is in himself for choking when he was supposed to be presenting his battle plan. But Aang reassures him.
Look, your moment of truth isn't going to be in front of some map. It's going to be out there on the battlefield.
You seem so confident about everything. How do you know we're gonna win?
Because I already failed the world once at Ba Sing Se. I won't let myself fail again.
Now the fleet heads towards the great gates of Azulon, masked by fog, but a flaming net rises up to stop them, and soldiers on some, frankly, very nifty jet skis are headed their way. They board one of the boats, and of course, we're all like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. They boarded the boat, but it seems deserted. And it is, because this was all part of the plan. The entire fleet is swimming under the nets in submarines. Yeah, Sokka and the Mechanist work together to create these subs, which are powered by waterbending. It is a total and complete success if you don't count the part where Toph barfs. We know that Toph's very sensitive to certain non-Earth areas, and we can't blame her. They've made it under the net and towards the beaches, but they are going to have to surface before they hit land because there is a limited air supply in the subs. They did the best they could. That's a small price to pay for having your own custom subs. Meanwhile, Ming, aka Serena the Goat, brings Iroh his meal, and Iroh very gently warns her that she should go home because she's not looking great, and she probably wink. I'm really glad he doesn't wink. That might be over the top. You might want to get out of here this afternoon. Warns her that she should go home and not be at the prison that afternoon. Very interesting. This is the part where we all stroke our beards thoughtfully. So she shouldn't be there, eh? Mm-hmm.
Can I say I love this part of the whole thing? This is, I when I'm watching it again, I was like, I can't believe this little afternoon cartoon has this real epic movie feeling. I love it when when the crew gets together and they start getting prepared to go into battle and they start. It's this epic. It's like watching Star Wars or something, and you're going, how do they do this for kids in the afternoon on Nickelodeon? It literally had the same feeling, and also even an emotional feeling of like when Harry Potter with kids of war now going into war. It had this whole feeling these are war kids that we start the whole show off. These are kids that are burdened by being children of war now going into war. And it's crazy. It just had all this really cinematic feelings in this little cartoon at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Nickelodeon. How is this possible? It's crazy.
So true. So true.
Okay, so we're back with Team Avatar. The gang gets ready to part ways. It's their last chance to talk before the fight really begins. And Aang and Katara find a quiet moment together.
Katara, you go first.
We've been through so many things together. And I've seen you grow up so much. You're not that little goofy kid I found in the iceberg anymore. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm really proud of you.
Everything's gonna be different after today, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What if I don't come back?
Aang, don't say that. Of course he'll...
Katara, what are you doing? It's time to submerge.
What? Right, I'm on it.
All right. All you Zutara shippers out there, I just want to check in and see if everyone's doing okay. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I mean, that's rough, buddy, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Rough, buddy.
Aang flies off and Sub's head down, and we go back to Zuko, who looks at a photo of him and May and apologizes to her. He leaves a scroll on his bed. It's a Dear John note, huh? Zuko's writing a Dear John note?
Maybe
now
not.
We're back up with Aang. Maybe not. I don't know. It's not feeling good, May. Sorry, gotta go. We're back up with Aang, who's taking advantage of the snack compartment of his glider. Finally, he gets it. Thank you, Mechanist. Anyway, the subs are being attacked by the chains that drag them up to the surface. That was pretty cool, too. You're like, how are they going to deal with it? I'm like, they're dragging him. Again, crazy cinematic stuff going on in this, quote unquote kids cartoon. What's going on? This is blowing my mind.
Love it.
And then, but Appa and Katara take care of that. The fleet uses ice-covered torpedoes to breach the next barrier. They're so close. They hit land, and now it's time for the Earth Kingdom tanks to go to work. The Earthbenders do some awesome work on the ground, and they really get to enjoy these caterpillar-like tanks. One of them manned by Teo, and they can climb around, they crush stuff. I mean, who wants to play with those things? Like toys, I'm like, all those things, the caterpillars, the even like the Fire Nation things that they're shooting the chains. It's like, where are these toys? I can't wait to play with these things.
Yeah.
It's almost as fun as the drill. It's almost as fun as the drill.
I know. I would choose the caterpillar. By the way, that caterpillar tank is designed. This is like based off a Leonardo da Vinci design, which I don't even know. Like, we don't have the time to go there, but check out the art book. But I think I would take the caterpillar tank over the drill. I know it's probably very controversial, but if I could pick a
can
toy,
we
I would
think
pick that
remote
one
control
over the
drill right now, where you can actually drill holes into your own ground in your neighbor's backyard?
No,
I mean,
I don't want to. I would
that's what I wanna
rather.
do.
I would rather crush than drill. That's what I'm finding out about myself.
Oh.
And then,
I don't know if I have a preference, but I tell you what, if I had a neighbor kid who was drilling up my backyard and I went out there and I was like, hey, what the heck's going on? And the kid was like, we're playing Avatar. I'd be like, keep playing. You guys
As
are
you
good.
were.
You
Keep
do
playing.
your
As
thing.
you were.
As you were. Mess up my
As
yard.
you
That's
were.
awesome.
Totally.
okay, now the Swamp Benders. We get to the Swamp Benders, and they're doing some pretty awesome damage to the Fire Nation tanks, including some fierce work by the Swamp Monster in the water. Nice work, Hugh. Nice work. You forget how powerful Hugh is in that monster. And all this monster that in the weeds or whatever, the seaweed he got going on in this place.
Yeah.
Now we got Komodo rhinos, we got fireballs, we got Team Avatar on Appa taking out battlements, but Hakoda gets hurt.
We need to get back to the troops.
You're hurt. Badly. You can't fight anymore.
Everyone's counting on me to lead this mission, Katara. I won't let them down.
Can't you heal him any faster?
I'm doing everything I can.
I'll do it.
No offense, Sokka, but you're not exactly Mr. Healing Hands.
No. I'll lead the invasion force.
So then we cut over to Zuko, who's at a shrine for his mom, reassuring her that he knows he's done wrong, but he's going to make things right. Anybody else starting to get the feeling that Zuko might be leaving the Fire Nation? Maybe.
Getting a lot of clues.
Then
a lot of clues.
Then we're back with Hakoda as Katara heals his wounds the best she can, but it's going to take time. Sokka will have to take over for his father. He's going to lead the invasion.
Can I say, even though that, Ursa left the Fire Lord, he left a picture up of her. He left a picture up of Ursa, the woman that left him.
Cool.
So that's cool. That's cool.
I guess he's a great guy.
He left a picture of her. He's not a great guy, but there may be something he has still. He just left a nice picture up of her.
Okay.
Sure.
I like this. Okay. I like this notion that Dante is going to defend every member of the Fire Nation, no matter how terrible, because Dante's going to find the good in you. He's going to find if you're Fire Nation, he's loyal. I do love that. That's great. That's great. I think I might be more with Janet on this one, but you have to appreciate Dante coming in and being like, maybe there's good.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So elsewhere, Aang has a bird's eye view of the heart of the palace where everything seems a bit too quiet. And in fact, when he enters the giant golden doors to announce the Avatar is back, there's no one there. Outside, the invaders breach the final walls and charge at the Fire Nation soldiers who seem to be retreating. Aang reaches the throne to find it empty. Will we ever find out? We certainly won't this week because it's the end of part 1.
How did they leave people like that? They left people like that for a whole week?
It's a two-parter.
I don't know. It's a two-parter. I want to go and check to see the actual air date history to see if Nickelodeon had both of those locked and loaded, ready to go in one day.
Yeah.
That would be epic. But if we had to wait a week for that, brutal.
What?
I mean, they're pretty good about mushing those cliffhangers, with the exception of the finales. They're pretty good at mushing them together. So they probably did air us 2. I think if you're watching it, depending on where you're watching it, it shows up as 2 episodes. It definitely was definitely was 1 episode with a little title card in the middle.
In the middle,
but you watch it out all at once. So yeah. Parents, having a hard time getting your kids to help out with the recycling? Well, get those soda cans ready because your youngsters won't be able to stop crushing them with the all-new Tankapillar. Based on a design by some guy named Leonardo da Vinci, who must have been named after a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, this useful toy will keep your kiddo entertained for hours and keep your recycling bin busy. Just roll the Tankapillar over the can, pull the crush lever, and let the fun begin. May also crush things you don't want crushed. Manufacturer not responsible for missing phones, shoes, or souffles. So let's get into most valuable bending. I mean, a lot is already happening in the bending realm. What do you guys think?
There's bending going all over the place. I mean, they're in war. There's bending everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
With the and with the mechanics of the bending. It's like we usually say most valuable bending and we're thinking of a person individually bending something, but then when you think about like the tanks and the submarines and all the gear that the Fire Nation has, like
and to who?
gets
What's
this
happening?
one?
I mean, obviously, like for Hakoda, the most valuable bending is his daughter healing him, or else he'd be in trouble. So to Hakoda, that's the most valuable bending. But like, the Earth, in my mind, the Earth, there's a lot of earth bending going on. It's very important, the earth bending happening when they're going with caterpillars and everything. So I don't know any particular earth bender, but I feel like something about earth bending in this episode is important.
Yeah, I mean, just like launching those rocks up at the battlements and everything. This was also like a tough one for me. And I was thinking about both bending and non-bending because there's so much happening. I have to shout out this moment with Sokka where he does this little sword slice on the weapon. He like mounts the Komodo rhino was really cool. But I think my answer is going to have to be them working together, bending and non-bending, because as the invasion was happening, it's getting more and more epic. And there's a moment where Sokka and Katara, their dad, and again, like Dante said earlier, you're reminded when watching this, these kids are going into war. It's one thing to have these kids. They are your adventurers. They're your heroes. But then when the parents show up, you're reminded, oh yeah, there's adults and then there's these kids. And when they go into this crazy thing that's happening, their dad says, Katara, Sokka, take out that battlement, work together, take care of yourselves, watch each other. He says something like that. And you're reminded, ooh, that's a dad. That's a dad telling two kids, like, have each other's backs. Using bending and non-bending to take down these battlements. I was like, I forgot how epic this was. And it's so great. And it's
crazy.
Just that collaboration. Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. So that really hit me emotionally. But Dante might have it where the MVP really is like that healing. You need that.
Let me say this. And tell me what you think about this, because I'm getting a little bit hokey here. But I think Hakoda would not say that Katara healing him was the most valuable. Hakoda would say his kids working together side by side would be his choice over the other.
I'm gonna get emotional.
You sound like Tom morphing. This is bad.
No, but I'm with you, Hector, because you said it got you emotional. It got me emotional too with, like I said, the kids going to war. And we are living in an era right now where we're back in a war era, and there are kids, there are teenagers in places in the world right now that are in these situations. And it did not fly over my head. It really impacted me when I was watching it. Like, wow, this is heavy.
And then Zuko's journey of sort of realizing what his nation is doing and what they did is also, I think, just
heavy,
right? The most relevant, because people are realizing that every single day, in all parts of the world. People are sort of waking up to what's going on, and hopefully that means that things are going to change for the better, just like it does for Zuko. So thank you once again, Avatar: The Last Airbender, for calling
very
it.
poignant, very poignant, even in this moment.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I just want to share a couple of favorite moments from part one from fans reached out on Instagram. I just want to shout out Fondlin and also Madison Ham, who agree that Sokka really shining as a skilled leader and military specialist is a very favorite moment. Airbender Steven says that Appa armor, and TM Correo feels the same. But TM also says in part one, it's seeing the past friends come back together. Dante, this is for you. Seeing those past friends come back together for the invasion. And then Armor Goose says Sokka being reassured by his father that he is capable of leading the invasion. So a lot of family and friends moments in part one that people really love, which echoes how we feel too. So everybody's on the same page on that. That is for sure. Real quick, I want to hear from you guys what people you were most excited to see come back for another run. We've got Swamp Benders. We talked about Tyro and Haru. We've got Teo and his dad. We've got Pipsqueak and the Duke, who we've seen before, so they're sort of like, we already know because they've been together and been reunited, so they kind of get shuffled off to the side, to be honest. But we got the Hippo and the Boulder. What were you guys most excited about? And were there characters that you sort of wish in another world and in the multiverse you could have seen come back for this?
I think I'm so happy to declare this. I'm a huge Trekkie. I love Star Trek. So I'm always so happy to hear the late, great Rene Auberjonois coming back as the Mechanist. One of my favorite characters. And I love Rene and I love his voice and I love his texture. And that's just a great story. And I love that father-son relationship. So happy to see him. In another universe, I would have also loved to have seen, I'm a huge King Boomy fan. I know Boomy right now in the world, he's like imprisoned and we're gonna get to that.
Right.
But I would have loved to have seen King Boomy tear it up in this invasion. That would have been great.
Absolutely could not agree more. Dante, what about you?
I mean, I'm with you with the Mechanist I love seeing that. I mean, like Pipsqueak and the Duke are my guys. I would love to see Jet. I would have loved to see Jet come back.
I knew you were going to say that.
Jet's not here. Although I did appreciate seeing Tyro and Haru. I mean, also hearing Kevin Michael Richardson's voice, KMR, to hear his voice is like, you're like, damn, KMR, what's up? That's my guy right there. What's up, KMR? Sounding great. So
his voice is like a warm blanket, Kevin Michael Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
Just wrap me in Kevin Michael Richardson's voice. It's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Michael Dow, who plays Haru. I mean, we could, we love our Carlos. We love Carlos Alazraqui, who we see in our Swamp Benders. Obviously, Mick Foley. We've got William Bassett, who's Hugh. Sterling Young, who's Pipsqueak. We've got Nick Swoboda, who's the Duke. I mean, this is Dwayne Duvall is Warden Poon. There is a great guest cast in this episode, and I agree with you guys. I also have a very soft spot for both of the father and son pairings that you guys both named. I love them both.
What about Jet? What about Jet? Do you want to see Jet come back?
I love Jet. I love the pairing of Jet and his son, the straw that he puts in his mouth. Another father-son pairing.
I think I love the pairing of Jet and Dante Basco. I feel like that's the pairing right there. That's my favorite pairing.
Right
Dante
there.
and Jet. That's the super duo.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. In terms of like other people that we don't get to see, I mean, I like to listen. I was going to say, I wish we could see her, but we do in the next bit. I always want Yue. And the Eclipse.
She can still affect things. She can still affect things. She can still affect things. She is affecting things. She can still
affect things. So she's absolutely there.
For a second, Janet, I thought you were going to say, I would have loved to have seen Korra. I would have loved to see. She would have tore it up. It would have been great. If only she could elemental bend time and travel back in time. She would have been great. Would have been great to see Avatar Korra. It would have been awesome.
You know it. What if like Hama had shown up and was like, "Hello, I got out of prison to help everyone." Everyone's like, "No, actually, we're good.
Get out of here.
We're good, I think."
No, Hama, we're good. Hama,
great.
We're good, Hama. We're good.
We're good. We're good. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we got to take a breath. But I'm also very tense to get to this next week's episode. Here's what I'm gonna say. Come back. Let's all meet back here in a week. I want you to wear the same thing that you're wearing right now.
You got
Just for consistency. You know what I mean? Just for consistency. So it feels like a nice flow through to the following week. We don't want to jar anybody by wearing something different. This is a two-parter. We gotta stay consistent. Thank you, Profector, for being one of our very, very favorite guests. Your legendary knowledge of and love for the Avatarverse is always a perfect addition to the podcast. It's always inspiring. And of course, we will see you next week. Until then, where should people find you? What should they check out?
Oh, thank you so much, both of you, for having me. It's always just such a blast. Check out my YouTube channel. It's called Heroes Reforged. We also have a podcast where, at the time of this recording, by the time you hear it, it may be a little older, but we just did a cooking special on my YouTube channel because I'm an awful cook. So my two friends made me cook like a 5-course meal for them, and we filmed it, and that's on the internet. So go check that out from our podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. Spoiler alert! I'm not going to tell you actually how it goes. I'm not going to tell you. Go check it out.
I'm sure it goes perfectly without a hitch.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody. We will see you next week.
Did you know you can hear bonus episodes of our award-winning podcast?
Subscribe to Avatar Braving the Elements Premium on Apple Podcasts for early access, exclusive content, and ad-free listening.
I'm so excited!